lot of people want me dead. They call it justice. I'm the only one who knows the truth. All I have left is the wind by my side.
What is up guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to play Yasuo. One of the most mechanically difficult champions you can pick up, but also super rewarding. So Q start as usual, there's like your low cooldown damaging ability that also happens to be a skill shot. It's an ability that you can charge up by using it and hitting something, and then you get this ranged tornado that will also knock people up. This ability, you can actually poke enemy champions with this ability without taking any minion aggro. You just have to make sure that there's a minion or something in front, because any target that you hit beyond the first target will be taking AoE damage. So it is not single target damage. That means that the minions will not aggro when you're poking enemy champions this way. That's very important to know. And then we have the E, which is a targeted dash. Lets you jump around everywhere on the map. Makes you extremely annoying to try and target with skill shots. Thanks to the power of the lethal tempo and your low cooldowns, and also how your Q scales down with attack speed, like the cooldown of it, your early game can be extremely strong, as you can see right here. But that is the reason that you're building a lot of attack speed on Yasuo. The fact that his Q cooldown scales down with attack speed down to a cap. And of course lethal tempo also works for that, even though it's only temporary attack speed. It is going to help you out quite a ton in fights, especially during the early stages, as you could see from that first blood I got. And W, the wind wall, of course blocking all projectiles. That's pretty cool and also pretty annoying to play against. That can definitely turn around entire fights if you know how to use it well, and also do be careful when you're using it because it does have a pretty high cooldown. Your E is a dash that will make you dash in a fixed distance, so if you're staying closer to the target, that means that you're going to dash further. Now why is this useful? It's useful because it allows you to dash through jungle camps to the other side of the wall. So that actually makes you even more mobile if you know how to utilize this perfectly. Of course you can combine your Q with your E, so if you, while you're dashing with your E and you press Q simultaneously, he's going to spin his blade, and if that blade is fully stacked, like your Q is fully stacked and you do it, it's going to knock people up. It's like an easier way to hit the opponent because it does not become a skill shot anymore. Because it will just knock people up around you in a circle instead of it being a ranged skill shot. Yasuo is very difficult to play guys, and especially if you play against more difficult matchups like the Aurelia, you have to be extremely careful. It is a skill matchup. Skill matchups can be very difficult if you're not familiar with Yasuo and played him a lot. You can see how I used my wind wall right there. I blocked out her E. It's actually pretty unique how you want to do it on Aurelia especially, because you cannot do it immediately. You had to block out when the two, whatever those things are, when they're about to connect. That's when you can use the wind wall to block it out. Otherwise it's not going to work, but you can see if you're able to use that wind wall properly, it can definitely help you win the fights. The goal on this champion, like in laning phase and during fights, is that you really try to abuse your mobility by dashing around and dodging skill shots, poking a lot with the Q, and once you're ready to go all in, you try to get that Q stacked up, you CC the opponent, and then you just auto tag and Q them to death. Now that we have the ultimate up, so when an opponent gets knocked up or displaced, either from you or your allies, you can ult, so you basically teleport to the opponent. You're going to keep them in the air for a bit and then you knock them down, dealing damage. And also refreshing your passive, which is that shield you get when you walk around. Ultimate will refresh it. And then every single critical strike you deal on the opponent is going to benefit from that free armor pen that you get from that ultimate. Since you have that free crit multiplier on the passive, along with that free shield you're getting as well, very important that you prioritize building crit. But you just want to get to 100% crit chance as fast as possible, because that's how you make sure that every single auto attack benefits from that armor pen that you have on your ultimate. But it is a champion that can make a lot of flashy outplays, so that's why a lot of people like to play him. He has a pretty cool playstyle and super rewarding as well, but you have to spend a lot of time. You can even pick him up if you're a new player, you just have to be able to, you know, invest a lot of time into him. That's just how it goes with these more difficult champions. And you can probably expect to die a lot during the first couple of games, just because you can easily play too aggressive on this champion. One thing that also takes a lot of skill is knowing when you can play aggressive and when you cannot. Getting boots first on, always, because the E dashing speed also scales with it, and also the cooldown of your Q. That gives you a pretty strong spike. And then you get the seal, which is another item that gives you a strong spike early on. Top of also giving you crit, and then you have that crit amplifier on the passive, so of course you benefit a lot from that, more than most other champions. So these two items gives you a strong early spike, and then you build into the shield bow. Always the shield bow, the other mythic item sucks on Yasuo. So until further changes are made, it is always, or should always be, shield bow when you're going for any of these crit mythic items. And picking up a nice kill right there. So as you can see, you can also do the Q flash. Not flash on Q, but Q and then flash. This is used to catch the opponent off guard. Makes your stuff come out really fast. And also makes it really hard to react to. So therefore, you can use this when the opponent is low HP. And maybe they have flash or something up. They just want to get the kill. Or they can actually react to it. And same thing goes for the EQ flash. So when your Q is fully stacked and the tornado is ready, you can EQ and then you can flash to knock targets up at the new spot. This is also something that used to catch the opponents off guard with. Another thing that's very important to know is that when you have enough attack speed, when you knock somebody up in the air, try to EQ either on the knocked up target or something else, for example the minion, and then ult. That is going to make it so you get one stack of the Q, and then you also like move the EQ combo to the enemy champion. So you increase the damage and you also make it so your Q, that Q comes up faster for use your ultimate. And I know that the description for some reason says that it's going to fully reset your Q passive when you do that, but it's not. It works. And it is intended, because it always worked like that and they're not going to change it. But that's a cool skill move you can do that also helps you out a lot DPS wise. So when somebody's knocked up and you have enough attack speed, do the fast EQ and then your ult. So I like to roam a lot, of course, when I see there's a chance to pick up a couple kills. Getting exhausted by the Ashe. So I'm just gonna leave her and then we focus down the other targets. Like, it is the support, so not really worth it to focus down. Instead, we're going to pick up the other players, and that meant that we got the carry and we also got the jungler. So you can see, if you know when to roam, that is definitely something that will reward you a lot, especially in solo queue. We'll hit straight back to lane with a double buff. Also make sure that you're actually weaving in the auto tags. That's something a lot of people forget. I don't know why, but always weave in your auto tags, guys. No matter which point in the game, they will always deal a ton of damage. So when you're using your Qs, always weave in your auto attacks in between to maximize the DPS. Then you abuse that mobility by dashing around and dodging incoming skill shot, and then save your W for the most important ability being thrown at you. Same thing, you can just stack the Q up on the minions, but when the opponent sees you have a stack Q, they'll just back off. So a lot of the times I like to just get one stack on the minions and then I just straight up engage. Because by the time my Q will get stacked, I'm already within range of the opponent, so I should be able to land a knock up where I can follow up with the ultimate and then just keep going. We got the shield bow. That's the first big spike. And I also bought anti-healing because they have lots of healing. Normally though, you get Berserkers, then you get the seal, and then you just sit on that item. You don't upgrade it. So you sit on that item, then you get shield bow, then you get the Infinity Edge, and then you upgrade the seal if you want to, or you can delay it even further. In this case though, I'm getting anti-healing early on, so right after the shield bow, because they have so much healing. If you have lots of healing, then always get anti-healing, guys. It's absolutely griefing to not do that. Pulling off lots of roams. Of course, getting rewarded with lots of kills as well. And we also have 10 CS per minute, so that's absolutely insane. Obviously, that will not happen every single game, guys, but you should always focus on getting good CS per minute. Especially something like a Yasuo killing champion. Like, he has insane damage late game, but he's not like a super late game skilling champion, because his issue is the fact that he's very squishy and very vulnerable to point and click CC. Then the late game, when everybody just has insane damage, you make a small mistake and you're just gone. Like, you just insta disappear. So he's strong late game damage wise, but he's also very difficult to play out. 3-man gang mid. We cannot afford to die yet when we have that massive gold bounty. That's what I mean, that when you play Yasuo, you can expect to get camped a lot. Especially if you play overly aggressive, which a lot of Yasuo players do for no reason. That's why they also tend to tilt a lot. You have to be smart and know when you can play aggressive and when you cannot. And then you can also queue the chickens over the wall here, so that's actually something you can do already level 1. When they spawn, you can queue them twice, which is going to give you the tornado. And that tornado, for example, if you're getting zoned away from the first 3 minions level 1, you can use that ranged tornado to last hit. Or to get some pressure. But you can see the wave player is really good because he does not use any energy or mana, so you can just perma-spam the abilities. And insta-clear the wave, and then you can roam if you want to. We are pretty much in the mid game. And usually when the towers go down, I like to be in the side lane. Trying to pull off a roam, but it seems like they have a ward somewhere, so that is not happening. Or Aurelia spam pinging them to back off. And this is a problem against some matchups. I think I could have killed the Olaf if I hit that 1 Q I missed. But This is the problem, in some matchups they'll be so unplayable until you get to a certain point in the game. Especially something like Olaf, you know, Riven, and also Aurelia and so on. If you make one mistake, they will just run you down. That's also another thing that makes it really hard to play Yasuo, is that it's very easy to make mistakes on him. You know, if you make a mistake on something like a Darius, it's not too bad, right? Because then you just back off and then you can re-engage. But if you make a mistake as Yasuo into something like a Darius, you have to burn your flash or you're dead. But that's another thing that makes him really hard to play, and also why you have to have a lot of knowledge, not only about the champion, but also the difficult and different matchups. Always pick up everything that you can on the way to your lane, including the jungle camps, the skull crab, and whatever you can find. That's how I always manage to stay up in CS even when I'm behind. Always aiming for a minimum 7 CS per minute, no matter which game. You see how I'm kiting? That is because when you know the limits of the champion and also what the enemy champion can do, you know when you are able to go in and when you're not. So in this case I just faked an engage, I poked him and then I disengaged. So I let my teammates deal with the rest, otherwise I would have died. So knowledge also plays a big part in how much you're able to succeed with the champion. That is something you get as you play. So now we are going to the side lane. The mid game, this is where this champion becomes really strong, because if you're not able to pick up any kills in the mid lane, maybe the enemy mid laner played too safe, now you should be able to do it, because it is an extended lane. It's a lot harder for the opponent to escape. Just show out the way. I'm gonna back off for a bit here because I don't see the jungler and other players on the map. Now that Aurelia is stuck bot side, we can go mid and then we can see if we can help them out. And that's also how you can pressure as a split pusher. And the way you play Yasuo in teamfights can be the one engaging. But keep in mind, you're very squishy, but if your teammates are winning the fight, like they are right now, of course worth it, but otherwise, usually you want to have somebody who can engage for you. If you have a Malphite who can just knock up the entire team and then you can follow up, that will be insane. We saw that EQ combo I did before using my ultimate. That is how you maximize the DPS. Something you should always be trying to do whenever possible. This Aurelia just AFK pushing, so of course we have to match that. But you can definitely spend a lot of time in silence, but just keep in mind Yasuo is not a champion where you tend to run TP. Sometimes you will do it, but most of the time you have Ignite for the kill pressure. So if you split push too much and your teammates keep getting caught in the mid lane, that might cost you the game. So try to predict your teammates getting caught and then be there before that happens. That's something Elo players do very frequently, and that's also how we avoid these ARAMs that can cost us the game. So I just managed to stop them from doing the Baron because nobody else was paying attention, so just stay in the back here and then poke a bit. I might die. And I did die, but I did not have my ultimate up, unfortunately. But we played the fight pretty decent. We stood in the back line and just poked, because if we go in, we'll get insta focus down. But you can hit people in the front. You can also be an assassin type champion if you have somebody else who can engage with you and provide some displacement or knockups for your ultimate. But your win alone can single-handedly carry the fights. You can use that to peel your AD carry or a mage or whatever you have, and then just DPS the front line like a normal ADC. Now, we have the shield bow and we have the Infinity Edge. That's like the big spike that you're playing for on Yasuo. Once you have that, it's pretty much situational what you buy afterwards. If you're just getting perma one shot around the map, then you can get the Death Stance. That's going to make you a lot tankier. Need anti-healing, get the Immortal Reminder. Need some additional safety, get the Guardian Angel, more damage and sustain, Bloodthirster. Like, you have a lot of options. The only core items: Berserkers, Shield Bow, and Infinity Edge. And see how I used my W perfectly once again. Used it to block out Ashe ultimate in melee range. So if you're good at predicting when the opponents are going to use what ability, then you don't even have to see it or use the wound wall. You can just predict it and use it at the exact same moment. When your ultimate is ready, try to ping it for your teammates so they can try to time their stuff yours, so you can get a really good teamfight out of it. He can be really good at teamfights if you have the comp built around him, but if you do not, you might have to split push a lot of the games. Always trying to go for, you know, multi-hit knock-ups before I use the ultimate. Unless I hit the main target, which is a carry. I always try to aim that Q tornado so it hits multiple people at once. That way I can keep them locked up in the air for as long as possible. The early game, when you do not have enough attack speed, you don't have enough time to use the EQ combo before using your ultimate. In that case, you knock somebody up, they are within melee range, just get one auto tag in, and then use your ultimate. Not a lot of damage, but it's better than nothing, right? So always try to get something else in before using that ultimate, if you can. You see, this is kind of the problem with champions like the Aurelia, because of how their kit is built. Even if you are ahead, I am super far ahead right now, but if I were just slightly ahead of the Aurelia, like maybe I killed her 3 times, 4 times, I would have died right here. So you can't really afford to make a lot of mistakes on champions like the Yasuo when you're so squishy. Because if you get tagged by one hard CC ability in a fight, you'll get chain CC'd and you'll get bursted down. So that's why I like to split push a lot, because it's a lot easier to pressure the opponents. But I also team fight if I feel like something bad is going to happen to my team. Maybe they might get caught, then I try to show out the way in the side lanes and then I just group up. We are grouping up right now to avoid further A-ramps. This time around we are just picking up kills. And the tower as well, which is great of course. But remember, he can fulfill multiple different roles in the team. Totally depends on the team comp and head of the game. So always try to adapt. Once again, I'm getting punished for not having that ultimate, otherwise I could have TP'd to the Ashe and then killed her and gotten out. But me dying is completely fine when my teammates are winning the fight. When you play Yasuo, you're playing for the scaling game, but also not the complete late game unless you have the massive team comp diff. Like the mid to late game, that's why this champion really starts shining for real once you have that crit passive fully maxed out. With the shield bow and the Infinity Edge. That's when it's showtime. And you don't have to worry about getting too much crit, because any crit beyond 100% is going to be converted into bonus AD. If you wanted to, you can do a full crit build just to get an insane amount of AD. But I do not recommend that most of the time, just because it's going to leave you very squishy. It's good to have a balanced build with lots of damage, but also a couple, or at least one defensive item. I'm gonna take away the rip buff here, because we are the only, or the main ADC on the team. We also have the Senna, but she's more of a bruiser tank. And your Q, of course, being on hit also procs the rip buff. As long as the target that you're hitting is the main target. Said previously, any target beyond the first one is considered AoE damage, so it's not going to proc stuff like the rip buff. But in exchange, it's not also going to make sure you take minion aggro. Be really patient with this champion, guys. Wait for your teammates to engage for you. Then try to land a really good knock up onto multiple people, and then you can ult in and focus down the main target. But that is how you do it. Now we can just go ahead and end the game right here. We got an ace. Our team is doing well now, so of course it's a lot easier. Some games will be a lot harder. But it is a champion that does reward you for your skill and your time put into him, so if you like the champion, play him a lot and you definitely see results. But that was how to play Yasuo. Hope this was helpful, thanks for watching and see y'all next time.